Welcome to Inspo Circle. My name is Yana Resnick, and I welcome you here. We have been holding this space for 3 months now, and it's been really exciting because so many people come from all over the world. And I want to tell you a little bit of why I'm doing this work, a little bit of a personal history that is relevant to the workshop today. I began my first part of life as a classical pianist, and I was professionally doing that for many, many years. And I had a really incredible career that took me all over the place, and I played at big stages like Carnegie Hall and traveled. It was just so beautiful. And then at some point, I realized that something happened because I remember those days at the beginning when I was building this career. I was so joyful and so happy and so excited. And I would get on stage sometimes and get teary-eyed because I would feel, oh my God, this is my dream. I'm living my dream. This is so beautiful. But then something started happening. I started getting burnt out, stressed out, and that initial joy and excitement and emotion just really started disappearing. And I couldn't necessarily pinpoint what was going on because on the outside, everything seemed perfectly fine. I was getting concerts. I was actually at the top of my career at that point, but I just became miserable and quite depressed and sad. And I couldn't understand what was happening. And I had a breakdown, literal breakdown, actually on stage at some point. And what happened is during that time, I realized that I was building up so many feelings and emotions throughout so many years that had to do with the business side of the career and the stress of being on stage, all the stresses that we have. And sometimes we don't notice how little by little by little by little those drops of emotions that we never processed, never dealt with, they're just piling up. I used to say, well, I'm so resilient. I'm so strong. I don't care if people reject me. I don't care if I get a bad review. I don't care if somebody doesn't give me the gig that I really want. Right. And that was true for a while. And then I realized that basically what happened to me is that I was suppressing all of those little things until I became depressed. And that's the word depression, right? Is when we just keep suppressing and we never really process the emotions and the feelings that come into our lives. So at that point, I kind of hit a rock bottom, what I'd like to say. And then, of course, looking back, I look at it as my midlife awakening moment. And I quit the stage and I began this incredible journey. And the journey was to discover what was working in life, how to go back, how to heal, how to bring that joy, how to bring inspiration, how to reconnect with what I really truly love to do. And then, of course, I started understanding that there was also a deeper calling in me to do something else. But I had no idea what it was. I just knew I had to do something. So there was a really dark time, hard time, and processing what I learned through that journey, through getting certified. I got certified in hypnosis, in neurolinguistic programming, somatic practices. I did psychedelic journeys. I traveled, doing all kinds of meditation retreats, like yoga, you name it, like I probably tried it. And through all of that experiential work, all of that deep internal work, first of all, I was able to heal. And of course, we're always healing more things, but I kind of came on the other end. And looking back, I realized that these techniques, I was so passionate about them that I wanted to share them. So I decided that was going to be my path, and I was going to do this for other people and show them what helped me. And that's why I'm here. And for me to create these monthly circles is really, really important because I know people out there are looking for healing, especially now. The world is going crazy. There's constant news from all over the world of this and that, and we all have a million different things that could set us off every single day. And we just don't learn that stuff in school. How do we actually process emotions? How do we find joy and happiness, right? And sometimes it's not about joy and happiness. Sometimes it's about just being okay, just not being freaking stuck in the misery circle, right? Just being able to go with your day without dropping tears, right? Like painful tears. Just get out of pain, get out of the cycles, get out of feeling like a hamster in a wheel. And that's why this work is so important. And that's why I'm so happy that you guys made the time today to come here to experience this. And what I would tell you is the map for today is this. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what the theory is behind what I believe is to be a really powerful, transitional, life-changing relationship building with your emotions and feelings. So I'm going to talk about those things first. And then we're going to dive into experiential work. And what that means is I'll give you very simple techniques. You're going to practice them. The more of you that have cameras on, the better, because I can see what you guys are doing and give you tips if it's not going exactly how it should. All right. So for those of you who have your cameras on, thank you so much. It creates a really, really, really beautiful experience. So, and then we will ask questions and we will work through. Sometimes things come up. So I always leave plenty of space at the end to make sure that we cover everything that came up for you. I want you to leave peaceful, happy, with something new you can practice and use starting right after this class. So that's what we're going to do. Is there any clarity that you need right now about perhaps some of the techniques? Actually, I'm going to answer this one myself. So, because I know a lot of people are wondering about that. I'm wondering, throw in a yes if you are familiar with these types of practices of, let's say, hypnosis. Are you guys familiar with hypnosis? Just throw a yes or a no in the chat. That would be great. So that I know. No, yes, no, yes, a little. Okay. No, not really. Yes, a little. Okay. All right. So I think it would be important for me to explain a little bit what we're doing from that perspective. So in hypnotic work, just a couple days ago, I read an article, and I don't know why, but I never really thought of this this way. But kids up until age 7 live in a theta brain state. So they're like sponges. They're super open. They're learning. They're not yet in the next stage of brain. So that is the hypnotic brain wave state. So basically, I was like, this is so cool. Like, we're going to throw people back into before they were 7 years old, and they're just going to become like little sponges taking in information. But really what it is a relaxed state of hyper awareness. So yes, you're relaxed, but you're also aware, and you are able to tune in to your conscious and subconscious. Now, how many of you know that subconscious mind is actually 95% of your entire mind? Throw in a yes or a no. 95% is your subconsciousness, and only 5 is the conscious mind. How many of you knew that? Okay, some of you knew that. So what we're doing is by relaxing the body and by relaxing and slowing down the conscious, busy, non-stop mind, we're actually allowing to tap into the deeper levels of our own wisdom. So how's it different from meditation? Well, meditation today is very similar, actually, because I'm not working with you one-on-one specifically. But also in meditation, the idea is to calm the mind where you're not thinking most of the time. Right here, it's the opposite in a way. You're going to be so focused, you're going to be going in and actually listening and conversing with yourself, with your body, with your mind. So it's more of a kind of like a conversation with your deeper knowledge. So that's what the difference is. Do you guys have any questions right now? Oh, major question that comes up is, are you going to make us do anything like squawk like chickens? Absolutely not. That's some fun stuff that stage hypnotists can do. I am not certified in doing that. I'm not going to do that. I am a clinical hypnotist, which means I work for the health side, right? Clinical side. And any other questions for now? You can throw it in the chat or raise your hand or just come in and ask. No questions. All right. Okay. So we begin. And I would like to tell you a little bit of some ideas. And be open-minded about this and just get curious. When we're in a curious state, this is when we learn and when we expand the best. So what we're going to begin with is focusing. All right, we need to focus. I know some of you guys are busy doing some other things, but this is the time for you to really start tuning in into your wisdom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to begin by sending in some questions. And the first question in the chat, and really sit with this, really tune in, take a couple breaths in, and really tune in. How many of you have ever been told at some point in your life that you are too emotional? Yes, yes, yep, yes, yes. Was told that today, huh? Heard it many times. Yes, too emotional. Too emotional. Okay. So the next question is, how many of you learned somewhere along the way that the best way to deal with emotions was to just push them down and move on, or get over it, or control it? How many of you? Yes. Yes, control, yes. Doesn't make it easier. Yes, yes. Get over it. Oh, yeah. Get over it. Just get over it. I love that. Like, that's easy. It is actually easy, but should we get over it? How many of you notice that sometimes emotions don't stay suppressed and they completely take over the system, like anxiety, overwhelm, or maybe some spiraling thoughts? Yes, absolutely. Spiral. So after the session, I forgot to include this one, but if you guys are curious, there's like such an incredible exercise for spiraling. It does magic. So at the end, remind me. If I forget, I want to show you the spiraling exercise. Spiraling thoughts. Okay. All right, next question. In one word, what emotion shows up most often when you feel stressed or under pressure? And Jennifer's iPad. No worries about being late. You are here. You have arrived. And we just began, literally, just a second ago. So if you can just answer the questions, you can scroll through the chat and see what the previous questions were. There was only 4, and you can answer them. Panic, anger, fear, anxiety, escape, anxiety, anger. A lot of panic and anxiety and anger coming up, right? Anxiety and panic, frustration, frustrated. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for sharing. Very good. Okay. So let's talk about this stuff now that we've tuned into what is happening with us and what we've been told and etc. So we've been told, your feelings are too much, you're too much, stop overreacting, get over it, just shove it up, right? Ignore it. All of this is too much. So what we are going to talk about today is to have another option. So it's not about suppressing, right? Because remember at the beginning, for those of you who were here, I was talking about how suppressing leads to depression, and then we're kind of in a dark space. So we don't want to do that, right? But we also don't want to be overpowered by that emotion. So the third option is learning from the emotion, noticing them, learning, and the theme for today, befriending them. There's a reason why I called this workshop Befriending Your Big Emotion, because that's exactly what I'm going to teach you how to do today. So before we dive into exercise, I want to explain to you how I think of it, right? This is based on my own experience and on many, many books and scientific experiments that I've been obsessively reading and studying. But really think of it this way. Emotion is energy in motion. So we have some kind of energy that starts happening and it begins to move. And sometimes it gets to in our bodies somewhere. It begins to move. Sometimes, how many of you notice sometimes that you have this, you can barely breathe feeling in your throat, right? Or sometimes like something happens and suddenly you have this like in your chest, right? Or your stomach begins to. So it enters our body. Some kind of energy of this feeling or emotion enters our body, chest and stomach. Yeah, exactly. So what emotions do is that it actually sends signals to the nervous system because your brain and your body are constantly scanning. They're scanning the environment and they're asking one basic question. And the question is, am I safe? That's all your body ever really cares about is protecting you. It wants to protect you, right? So that's why a lot of the times we have this fight or flight and we have the fear response because it needs to make sure that there's no tiger that is going to eat us. So the problem is that most of the time there are no tigers eating us, right? But we are still somehow respond in the same kind of way that we would to the tiger. So when the nervous system detects uncertainty or pressure, it activates those responses. And they might show up as stress, anxiety, fear, tension, racing thoughts, and all of those delightful things. And, but this is very interesting. So many of these responses are actually learned behaviors. They are learned behaviors a lot of the times. So there are a couple of examples that I want to bring to you. And what happens is when we're born, we begin to learn from scratch about our environment. We look around, we look how people are processing emotions. We're looking at how our parents communicate or our caretakers communicate, how our teachers communicate. We look at what kind of reactions they are having with each other. And remember, I said that our brain is in that hypnotic kind of state up until age 7. You're taking all of that in subconsciously. Sometimes you are not even registering that you took that information in, but suddenly it goes in. And a lot of this, it's basically creating this intelligent system for survival, learning how do I survive? I want to belong to this world. I want to belong to my family. So the child looks around and says, what do I need to do in order to belong? What do I need to do in order to be loved and accepted? And so we begin to just distinguish between what is real danger and remembered danger. So sometimes if as a child you don't feel safe or respected or loved, or maybe you're, being judged and you feel those feelings, your body will remember. And then when you grow up, you come to a point you're like, I have no idea why I'm overreacting to something. How many of you guys, like, sometimes you're just like, this is not even a big deal. throw in a yes in the chat. Like, I'm really curious how many people feel that. Like, this is not really even a big deal, and I'm just overreacting. Yes. So this happens because your body is not just reacting to right now, to just what happened, but it's reacting to a million different examples that it remembered and stored in your body from your entire life since you were born. And your body is yelling at you right now. Okay. All right. We'll get to the exercise very soon. Tell your body to just wait a couple seconds or minutes. Okay. So let's see. What else do I want to share? So yeah, so those authority figures, right, in our lives, like we learn things in such crazy ways. For example, there was a concert that my kid was a part of, and he plays piano, and they were out there about to perform. And he's so excited because he is like, he loves it. He wants to be on stage. We in our household never talked about nervousness before going on stage. Never, ever. It just was never, because I know how terrible it is to talk about those things. So we never even bring it up. So he's about to go on stage and he's super excited. He's like, I'm not going to ask him, hey, are you nervous? Because I don't, he doesn't even know what that is. So he's about to go on, and the teacher stands in front of the entire audience of parents and says, hey, let's give a lot of support to our kids because they are so nervous right now. And right when she said that, I realized, I was like, this is the moment that some of those seeds in their brains will be planted where performance, excitement, is actually equals nervousness. And then years later, they're not going to know what hit them, but suddenly something clicks in their brain. They're like, I'm so nervous, right? And they're going to keep feeding that loop for a long time. So anyway, that's kind of what I'm talking about. Learned behaviors. And the question is, how do we unlearn that stuff? And what happens is a lot of the time we need to interrupt the patterns. Now, how many of you, please send a yes in the chat, notice that you begin thinking about something and then suddenly you feel terrible. A thought causes some kind of response, like nothing around you changed. You're sitting looking out at the beautiful view, and suddenly a thought comes in of some negative nature, and then suddenly your body reacts and you feel like crap, right? And then as you feel your crap, your thought is like, oh, great, well, here I am, now feeling like crap. And you start sending more judgmental thoughts to yourself, yes. And you end up in this loop. And before you know it, you're spiraling and spiraling and spiraling. Your thoughts, emotions, everything's together. Nothing outside is changing. You have no idea what just happened, right? Like, happens to so many of us. So the job is, number one, to notice that loop. And what do? We have to break the pattern. We have to show the mind, first of all, I don't want to be thinking this way. And then really begin to build that relationship with your body and your feelings, which is what we're going to do today. So what today we're learning is breaking out of that spiraling loop, breaking out of the patterns. Okay, let me read. My body's yelling. Okay, a lot of times I think of something small quickly. It goes away, but the feeling stays. This is also this is so great that you brought that up. Let me open the chat. So the thought goes away, but the feeling stays, right? And sometimes you begin to think about the feeling and you're making the feeling more, right? And you're almost like enjoying in some weird way. Like, well, I'm just going to stay in this misery space for a bit. I'm just going to see what it feels like to be sad, right? And so sometimes that happens. And it's really about a decision, making a decision. Well, do I want to feel this way right now? Like, this is the first question we're going to ask ourselves, right? Is what do I want to feel right now? Am I okay feeling the sadness or am I not? right? Okay. You guys ready for some actual practice? Yes, let's do it. Thank you for listening. I think the theory of it, the idea of it is very important because it really, your mind begins to see it in a very, very different perspective because we're so used to seeing it as I don't have control over it. Sorry. I don't have much control over my cough, but give me 1 second. All right. But the perspective shift today is that you do have this beautiful way of building a relationship that actually you have control over and you can make a choice. So let's begin. Sorry. Okay. So what I want you guys to do is get comfortable and really just tune in, take a couple big breaths in and settle in. Just focusing. And now think about a specific situation when you felt anxious. A specific situation last time or previous times when you felt anxious. And now tap into your body and notice where exactly you notice the anxiety. And now imagine a dial in your mind, something that you can twist from 0 to a 10, any kind of dial. Just imagine it in your mind. You can close your eyes if you want, if that's easier to imagine. So we're going to call it that anxiety dial. And now on a scale from 0 to 10, where would you say the intensity of that feeling is right now? And you can either show it by fingers so I can see you, or you can throw it in the chat. Where's that anxiety right now? Whoa, 10, 7. Okay, keep sharing. Just noticing at which level it is right now. Okay, and now imagine gently turning the dial up just 1 notch. Now, if you're already at a 10, please stay where you are. Please stay where you are. But imagine turning it gently just 1 notch. And let me know when you're able to do it. If you have cameras on, you can nod. I can see you. Give me a thumbs up or just nod. When you're able to imagine it going up just 1 notch. Okay, and notice what it feels like. Okay. And now just simply begin to dial the anxiety down by turning down that knob. Imagine actually turning the dial 1 number after another. You're watching it coming down as your anxiety diminishes with the dial all the way down to 0. And begin to notice what is shifting in your body as you turn that dial down. And take a deep breath in as you keep watching that dial just turning down. all the way down to 0. And notice what happens in your body. So when you can, show me the number with your fingers where you are at right now. Now closing your eyes, for those of you who are still at a high number, I want you guys to close your eyes right now. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath in. And now imagine a humongous dial, really big, really clear. And begin to dial it down as you breathe. And please share in the chat what number you guys are on right now. Beautiful. 7 to 1. Yes. 2. Excellent. 1. Thank you. Please do share. I want to make sure everyone is back to no anxiety. 4. Okay, I think that's a 4. If you're at a 4, don't worry. We're gonna fix this in a moment. You're gonna go right back to 0 in a couple minutes. All right, good. So most of you are back. All right, and now, so this exercise is called dialing up and down. Now, what is amazing, have you guys noticed that you went from just listening to me to remembering an anxiety situation, and then when I ask you to turn it up, you actually were able to turn it up yourself. You felt it in your body. You did it physically. You imagined it, right, in your head. And then when I told you to turn it down, suddenly you're able to bring it all the way down. That happened within 3 minutes, and only you were in control of that. Your mind and your body actually did that process. So I want you to really understand the power of what just happened, right? It's not just some magic. It's showing you that you have complete influence over what happens inside, right? And you're able to bring it down. If it didn't work 100% from 10 to 0 right now, it will in the next one. You will know. So it's about the practice. Okay, so now the next exercise is called bilateral stimulation. And I want you guys to grab something that you can toss from one side to another. I have this little brain, squeezy brain. So I'm gonna toss that, but grab something that you can toss. It can be your keys or lipstick or a phone, a pen. It doesn't matter what it is. All right, so now let's experiment with another quick loop interruption, right? So we want to interrupt those loops, and this technique is really, really, really simple and amazingly effective. So what you're going to do is you are going to now think of something, again, that causes you some anxiety or anger or frustration or whatever it is that is not so pleasant in your life. Think of a situation, a cause. Something causes you some unpleasant feeling. And maybe choose a different situation now, right, than the first exercise. And when you notice the feeling in your body, just nod for those who I can see. Okay. So you brought that up. Okay, great. All right. And now notice this feeling in your body and rate it again from 1 to 10. Where is it at right now? And please, either if you have cameras on, share with your fingers, or put it in the chat. Okay, thank you guys for sharing. And now, simply begin to pass whatever object you guys have. Now, I don't know if you can see me, but my camera is kind of squeezing in on me a little bit. But imagine that you're actually going all the way, let me see, all the way to the sides, and you're crossing the midline. So you're passing the subject from left to right, but you're going all the way out to the sides. So what you're doing right now is you're stimulating both hemispheres of your brain. You're stimulating both sides. In order for you to be able to pass this object left to right this way, you actually have to use both sides of your brain. Now, why does it help us in a situation of some kind of emotion or feeling? Well, it's known that most of the emotions live in just one side of the brain. And when we actually use the stimulation of two sides, we immediately begin to dissipate whatever the feelings are trying to stay on just one side. They get so confused. They don't even know what to do and where to go and what happened. And when you guys now are going to stop and you're going to take a break, you're going to realize that that anxiety or whatever fear or whatever emotion you had before has completely dissipated, or at least moved down to zero. So now stop, take a deep breath in, and notice what happened. So share with me on your fingers or in the chat what happened here. What did you experience? I feel way calmer, forgot what I was thinking about. You know, I love that answer so much. I forgot what I was thinking about. Exactly. So I stopped thinking about it. Yeah, much more calm. Holy crow, that was crazy cool. Yeah, I know. So you guys can really remember this one. Now, this one you can do anywhere, right? Like, people are not going to think anything of you if you're just standing there tossing things left to right. Like, who cares? You can toss things left to right and it could be anything, right? But what happens is that we're literally just confusing whatever we were focusing on in that split second that caused us the anxiety. So notice what happened in this lower, definitely, and while doing the exercise, it was more relaxed. Yeah, and there's a physical aspect to it too, right? Like, you start moving blood, you start moving energy in your body, so that's also helping, right? So it's not only about the brain and making it go all over the place. So yes, thank you for doing that. And now, the next step, I would like for you guys to actually sit back somewhere. If you can, just sit back. I hope nobody's driving with all of those phones. So if you guys are driving, please pull over and don't do this exercise right now. Please. I don't want any catastrophic situations. Okay. So for this next one, bring up another stressful situation. And by now you guys can trust me, as you can see that we dissipate them rather quickly. So for this one, you can take something a little bit deeper. Dig in a little bit deeper. So stressful situation, feeling, or emotion, something very specific that has recently triggered you and caused some emotion. Think of that. Okay. And now, when you feel it, really locate where it is in your body. Start really paying attention where it is in your body. Where is it exactly? And really focus on it. And now notice, what shape is it? Does it have a shape, and what shape is it? What size is it? Does it have a color, and what color is it? Does it have a texture? Does it have a movement, or is it still? Is it not moving, or is it moving? Just get really curious about this feeling. Notice everything about it. And now imagine that this feeling is able to speak to you. And just simply ask a question. What is that you want me to understand? What is the message that you need me to know about? What are you trying to teach me? And just simply listen for the answer. When you're done receiving the message, imagine transforming this feeling into something different. What color would feel better? What size would feel more comforting? What shape would you change it to allow for this feeling to transform into a positive, beautiful, comforting feeling? And now imagine doing exactly that. Some people imagine wrapping that feeling in some beautiful, colorful, warm blanket, something fuzzy and soft. Anything that would feel comforting to you, just wrapping that feeling in that comfort. And now notice what happens in your body. From this space, we are going to learn how to use your breath and body to take the power away from your intense feelings. Take a moment to sit back and just simply relax your jaw as much as you can. Loosen it even more. When you relax your jaw, it relaxes your vagus nerve that is responsible for so much in your information that carries from the nervous system to the brain. Take a moment to just drop your jaw. Imagine it dropping all the way to the floor. You're stimulating the parasympathetic nervous system to counteract the fight or flight response, and you're encouraging the lungs to reach for a nice deep breath right now. creating a flood of biochemicals associated with the relaxation response. So relax your jaw now and take a deep breath in. Now the next time you inhale, hold your breath at the top of your inhale for 3 seconds. And then you will exhale twice as long. So you will breathe in for 4 counts, hold for 3, and exhale for 8. And as you keep breathing deeper, enjoy this peaceful state of relaxation. Reminding your body of what you have learned today. You're keeping with you a few simple tools to keep with you and use next time that any intense feeling or emotions rise up. You're taking with you the dial that you can bring in front of you, that you can turn up and down when you rate your emotion from 1 to 10. You also have an object that you can pass from one hand to another once you feel an emotion rise up. Passing the object across the midline of your body and witnessing your feelings dissipate. And you now know how to locate the feeling in your body and notice its color, shape, all the qualities, and ask it questions about what it is that it wants you to know, and allowing your body to give you a wise response. You carry all the answers in your system. You always know what it is that your body needs. And then you can choose different qualities, the color, the shape of your feeling and emotion when you want to make it feel more comfortable and safe. And you would wrap yourself in that feeling and emotion. And you will remember to drop your jaw anytime that anything comes up for you where you want to relax and let go. You will drop your jaw and relax it, and you will take 4 counts in, hold for 3, and exhale twice as long. And now, allowing your mind to remember all of these techniques, we begin to turn our attention back into your body, feeling your toes, your fingertips, and slowly returning your attention back into the room. And when you're ready, you might want to stretch and slowly open your eyes. You look at your computer, you will see there's a QR code, and we use this form for reflection and integration. It has some questions for you, and I really would love for you guys to fill it out there, because you will keep all the questions with you. You will receive immediate answers there. This is something that you can keep with you, some points that you would want to remember that you're taking away. So you can all put it there, and this way you will have it saved. But also there's a second part to it, and Karina, do we have it in the chat? Yes, we do. Okay, so you have it in the chat. If you can scan with your phone, then you can just click on the link in the chat. It will take you to this form, and it has these questions for reflection, to just really begin to tuning in to the lessons and remembering the lessons. So it also, the reason to do it in the form is because it really helps me to keep building these and understand what it is that you guys take away. We offer these programs for free, and for me to keep doing them and improving them, it would really help to have the feedback from you so that I know what people need and how and what works for them and what you guys are walking away with. So it's very useful for me to just read. This stuff does not go anywhere else except for here. So I will give you a couple of minutes to answer those questions, and then we will do more practice, a very, very powerful exercise at the end. So please don't leave. We still have one more really powerful exercise in a couple of minutes. If you're done thinking, contemplating, just processing, take a deep breath in. Feel all your feelings. Welcome them. Talk to them. Befriend them. Find out what they have in store for you. What is the information that they carry? What is it that you need to know when they come up? And then sometimes even asking a question of, how can I release this feeling? Do you want to be released, or do you just want to be seen? When we begin to approach our feelings and emotions as a separate little creature, it really helps us build that beautiful relationship with it. And it would always tell us what it needs. Sometimes it's to look deeper inside. Sometimes it's just giving yourself some love. Maybe even physically hugging yourself. You will notice a flood of emotion going. Just asking questions. So as you guys come out of the integration, I would like to share with you what it is that we are creating here. So my dream was really to create a monthly gathering for people to come into the space and do the work. So we are able to now schedule, well, this was the March one, and then April, May, and June. If you click on the QR code, and also Karina posted it in the chat just for direct link, the themes for April is tuning in all your neurological centers, because you actually don't just have one brain, you have three. So we have the heart, and we have the belly. If you guys know what I'm talking about, when you say, oh, I feel it in my gut, I feel it, the intuition, and of course always the heart. So how do we communicate the information? How do we actually derive more information from all of those centers? So that's going to be in April. So you can click. If you click, then you'll have all of them available. And then in May, when all eyes are on you, and this is not just for stage performers. Sometimes we don't want to speak up at work. Sometimes we don't want to speak up with our friends. Sometimes we don't want to speak up with our families. This is really more about processing what happens when people are expecting you to say something and you might be experiencing some emotions and feelings there. And then June is my favorite, permission for joy. How often do we actually allow ourselves to be fully joyful, right? There's so many emotions and feelings. So that one really is going to focus on remembering, allowing your body to actually remember and step in of that full ecstatic joy and experience. So I'm even thinking of doing some dancing for that one. So anyway, the next slide. Because you guys all showed up today, what I am doing is I'm offering you free 30-minute clarity Zoom session. Now, what we do in those sessions is I talk to you, I see where you're at, what might be some things that are, challenging, but also we explore where you want to be, what your goals are, and then we figure out the next steps for you to get there. It might be working with me one-on-one. I do this work on a much deeper level, working one-on-one. But it could be me referring you out to whoever I believe is going to help you best. So this is really for us to understand what your needs are, what your goals are, and how for you to get there. So if you click on the link there, then it'll take you to the Calendly, and then you can schedule your call there. And then next, this is just our part of a bigger project. It's called Inspo Journey. So if you go to the website, inspojourney.com, there's a lot of, the events are going to be coming up more and more. So if you guys, you're going to be receiving some emails with updates and things like that. We're building a much bigger project out of all of this work. So if you have any questions, then the next, Karina is going to send my email. If you want to reach out and have any questions about anything, then you can reach out to me at yana@inspojourney.com. All right. So before we open it up for questions, I would like to give you a very powerful closing exercise. So this one, if you guys can sit back, and let's begin by just closing your eyes. Closing your eyes. Taking a few of those breaths in, really exhaling twice as long. Begin to practice that breath of in for 4, hold for 3, and out for 8. Couple breaths in and out. When you joined this gathering, you had an intention to shift a certain feeling or emotion. You came here for a reason. I invite you now to think about what that was. Or if you might not even remember, then think about whatever comes up for you right now that you might need a little extra help processing the situation. Bring that up right now. Could be a feeling or emotion. And now imagine that feeling as a pebble. And now that pebble amongst many other pebbles on a wide, expansive beach. And now imagine that beach on an island. in an ocean. On a planet. In a galaxy. And notice how you feel now. And as you notice yourself sitting there below, feeling your feelings, ask yourself, how do I want to feel instead? How would I rather react to some situations? What would be a better way to handle the situation? And when you receive the answer, imagine feeling exactly this new way. How do you react? How do you respond? And notice how this better feeling moves in your body. When you're feeling this better emotion, notice how different you respond to any situation. Now imagine yourself out into the future, being able to react this way next time that something for you arises. Notice what it feels like to be able to choose the way you respond. Notice how good it feels to build this new relationship with your intelligent body. Now returning into the present moment, feeling what it feels like to be inside your body in the present moment. Begin to wiggle your toes, move your hands, you might want to stretch, and when you're ready, you can open your eyes and come back into the room. Taking a deep breath in. Welcome back. So this is the time now for us to share, and if there's anything you want to bring up about your experience, it could be good, it could be whatever. If something didn't work, this is the time to bring it up. If something came up That was powerful. This is the time to bring it up. This is just opportunity for us to all share and see what happens, and for me to answer questions as well, and hear about your experiences. So if anyone wants to speak up, please do. You can raise your hand or you can just pop in, unmute yourself. Don't be shy. We're all people here. We're all humans. We can do this.
Hi, this is
Hi.
Joy.
Hello, Joy.
Hi. Thank you so much for hosting this. I did not know I needed this so badly. Um, when I entered the session, I had a bit of pain in my shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was going through the exercise, I was massaging the area. And what came up for me was self-abandonment, um, and how I abandoned myself to take care of the needs of others. And that causes me great anxiety
Yeah.
until today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. You're bringing up such incredible, like so many incredible points. The pain we have in the body, I don't remember exactly the percentage, but I read somewhere something ridiculously high, like 80% is psychosomatic. So it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It exists, but it exists because it's trying to tell us to pay attention to something emotional. And I had this experience once where I learned these practices and I was like, okay, well, I had stomach ache. And my immediate response would be like, okay, well, I go get ibuprofen. I go fix it. And then I stop myself because that was the old pattern, right? Like, well, something hurts, take the pill. It'll be better. And I stopped myself and I was like, well, wait a second. Like, I know how to deal with this stuff. Like, I've learned these things. And so I sat down for 10 minutes and I was like, okay, I'm going to process it. And I went into the pain. I started asking the questions from the pain, like doing pretty much what you guys just did, a little bit different, a little deeper. Um, but then I noticed like 10 minutes later, I had so much information that I received and the pain was gone. And it was pretty high pain at the beginning. So there's that part, right? And then the abandonment of self. I'm so glad that you saw that for yourself today, and I'm so glad that you showed up because we are, I don't know how many men there are out there. I think some, but women especially, it's like so much of the time we just go, 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 like for kids, for families, for this, for that, and we don't really allow ourselves to like stay back, and then we become these like, really unhealthy, stressed out humans. But what we forget is that nobody wants us that way. Nobody wants us to be stressed out. We're actually useless in so many ways when we are in anxiety. We make it worse for people sometimes. I'm a mom of two. I was like, if I'm in a bad mood, I was like, I'd rather not even show up. Like I want to show up if I'm in a good mood because this is when I can bring resourcefulness to them, right? And provide. And so that work begins with ourselves. Like we have to do the work for ourselves in order to be taking care of others. Otherwise, it just doesn't work, right? Otherwise, we just go, 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 and then we're useless. So I like this change of perspective shift is where when we're taking care of ourselves, we're actually doing it because we want to take care of others. We're doing it with them in mind. So I love that that came up for you. That's a very powerful shift. And thank you for sharing. Anyone else wants to share or ask questions or just say hello? Anything? Yeah, we can just listen to
I'll
music and hang out. Yeah.
drop in.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked the scenario where you said the feeling is a pebble and then the pebble is in the lake and the island and the beach. It's like zooming out, right, on
Mm-hmm.
that feeling. And it's just like, it's just a feeling. It's not you. And so I think that helped me really separate like how I came into the session and now how I'm leaving.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So if you had to describe the feeling of what that felt like, what would you say?
I would say like even like a bit of anger, you
Mm.
know? Yeah. Um,
And
and
then
so
once you removed yourself from it, or you looked at it from a perspective, then what happened?
I feel like I separated myself from it because sometimes like I view it as like a personality trait because you feel it so often.
Mm-hmm.
And so that helped me separate the emotion from me. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you so much for bringing it up because I want to really focus on that. Like the separation between the emotion and you, it doesn't mean that it's not yours. It doesn't mean that it lives outside the body. But what happens is that your brain is so powerful that it really helps you create those kind of associations that, um, so if you bring something in, and we're not going to do this right now, but like try this next time. Imagine that feeling inside you, right? Well, feel it inside you. First, you don't imagine, you actually feel it, right? Like something happens, somebody pisses you off and you're like angry, right?
Hmm.
And take that time and just be like, oh, ugh, right? Like, oh, I feel this anger. Like, I feel it right here. I feel it right here and then here and here and here and like whatever you feel it, right? Like, just really grab it. And then literally take your hands, like, pretend and get that feeling out of your body and put it in front of you and look at it.
Hmm.
And it's gonna mess with your mind so much. You're gonna like look at it and be like, all right, well, now that you're sitting in front of me, let's have a little conversation here. What are you trying to tell me?
Yeah.
Why are you angry? And anger sometimes is not the bad guy. Like, this is the thing that we have to absolutely shift in our perspective.
Yeah.
Anger shows us what we actually care about.
Hmm.
And when you sit with that anger in front of you and say, listen, I'm here to listen to you. I'm here to listen to why you're pissed off. I'm here to understand what is going to make you not show up so much, right? When you begin to have those kind of conversations with your anger, with that emotion, you begin to receive the information. And it's no longer your enemy. You're like literally sitting, having, I don't know, you can have tea, coffee, or wine, over a glass of wine, right? And have
Right.
that conversation because those feelings contain so much information,
Hmm.
right? So try that next time and see what happens. First of all, you're going to immediately not feel that angry, right? And again, it's not about suppressing, but it just
Hmm.
happens, right? It's like because then the next step is when you are actually able to communicate with those feelings and emotions, that's when you can actually rationalize and make like good decisions, right? Like good decisions almost never come when we're at the peak and height of our emotional reaction.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, if you don't have any questions, thank you all so much for coming. If you do have questions, you can always write to me on Yana at Inspire Journey.